Good morning or afternoon, possibly evening, writers. Welcome back. So today we're going to do a quick lesson on endings. And I say quick because I want to give you time to really polish up your piece. This is it. This is our last revision lesson, and this one's kind of a bonus lesson. So the end of how you end your narrative is very important. This is your last opportunity to engage with your reader, and you want your reader to walk away with a wow, or oh, I get that. That's a story. Or I understand why that story was told. And sometimes we end our endings are too abrupt. When you were little, you would just say the end, like you were done, you've run out of steam. But we see that also in older writers, or the ending doesn't, it just seems too breezy, or like you didn't really take your time to think about how you want it to end. So we're going to pause and we're going to focus on making that ending powerful, making your reader leave and understand why you told this story. Why was this story important to you? And that is all you are doing today. So thanks. Listen to the video. And I used my own story with the squirrel. And actually, it was kind of why I did this lesson, because I didn't like the way I ended the story. I wasn't able to get at the bigger meaning of why I told that story or what that story meant to me. So you're going to see the process that I went through to revise it. And then I want you to go back to your own piece and revise your ending. Make sure that it does what it is meant to do, which is tie up loose ends and leave your reader with an understanding of what you felt, or perhaps it's an idea or a message that you want them to leave with. So that's it. Bye. Have fun, writers. Bye. So I'm going to start this lesson by showing you an example from one of the students, one of our sixth grade students. And this was actually his Zoom in. And when I read it, I just loved the ending, how he ended here, where the story is, it was on the front of his notebook, and it was a snowbank. And then he zoomed in on this moment. And his older siblings had warned him not to go too fast, and he didn't listen. But if you look at that last couple of lines, it says, I got in a good 5 feet of air and flew about 15 feet, which means that I lost my sled and landed on the cold, hard, super tightly packed snow flat on my back. Lesson learned. Listen to your older siblings. They probably know what's best. And I thought that is a fantastic way to end a narrative. Okay, writers, so I want you to go down to slide 11. For those of you who have a digital notebook. For those of you who have a hard copy, you're just going to go to the next page in your notebook. Now, since this was an added lesson, you're going to have to add a page. So I want you to go up. Don't click on that plus page. Click on that little tiny down arrow. And I want you to just grab a blank page. And so now you have your blank page, and I want you to go ahead and put a text box on it, right up at the top. And I want you to type, how do writers craft meaningful endings? And for those of you who are writing, you're going to write that. Okay. And then after you have done that, we're going to go over to, this is Power Slide is in your Google Classroom, and we're going to go through it. So this says end strong. Please write these notes in your writer's notebook. So this comes from Lucy Calkins, and she has this, I love this little thing that she wrote down here. To find the best possible ending to a narrative piece, writers ask themselves, what is my story really, really about? Look at Lucy Calkins using that word really like Mrs. Reed. The second thing is, what feelings or thoughts do I want to have at the end of my story? And have I tied up most of the loose ends and brought closure to the most of the issues I created in my story? So those are your driving questions here. End strong. You want to tell what the story is really about. That's going to be that so what. Oops. How did you feel? That's often how I'll start. Well, what did I feel like in that moment? Or as my writer wrote this morning or in his Zoom in, he wrote how he felt like, I should have listened to my older siblings. And so that was the lesson learned. What do you want your readers to feel or learn from your story? And did you tie up loose ends? The reader does not have any questions left. So you want to do all of those things as you end your narrative piece. Now, I would like you to get those notes into your digital notebook. For those of you who are writers, you're just going to write this out. For those of you who are digital, you have one little benefit here of being digital. You can just control copy. You're going to go back to your notebook. Go ahead and put in shapes. And we might as well keep the same shapes, those little rectangles with the solid edges. And just go control paste. And then I want you to do the same thing, and you're going to do it 3 times. So let's see how fast we can do this. Actually, I'm just going to do this another. Okay. And then here you can change the colors. Usually when you're doing colors, well, that was it. I don't like that color scheme. Usually when you're trying to do colors in a row, it's really like they have the colors here. And so you can just find the paint bucket and go down the line if you want your colors to kind of go with each other. That was a little tip that I learned from my daughter. So back to this. We're going to say, how did it feel? We're going to paste those notes in or write those in. And then last but not least, do I tie up the loose ends? Now, if you are interested in putting that little Post-it note that came from Lucy Calkins, you can also do that. You're just going to go to that slide and you're going to put your cursor on it. Oops. And you're going to go control copy and then control paste is going to get you that Post-it note. Go back and you want to get to that text, and you're also just going to do, a control C and control V and slide it over. Now, for those of you who are writing, you don't have to write those 3 things out. But now that I have put that purple on, I want to go back and change my color scheme. So I am going to do maybe this. You do not have to do this. I do it because I like to do it. I think it's fun. But feel free to just keep gray text if you'd like. So I want to take a look at the ending, how I ended my story. Now, remember, I haven't edited my paper yet. So for those of you who judge, don't judge yet. And the end I had was we both laughed. Neither of us would have anticipated that a flying squirrel would help relieve the inevitable tension that happens when you go to drop your child off at college. And I just read that and I hated it. And I thought, that's not really what happened. Yes, the squirrel happened, but it was more, it was a bigger thing than that. And so I went back and I thought, well, what was it? What was it about that moment? It was more about Caroline kind of separating from me, as her mom, and me being one of the primary people in her life. And so I went back to the table and I wrote, while this crazy moment helped break the tension between us, it was much more than that. It was the moment when Caroline realized that who I am does not define who she is. I can be me, and she is free to be herself. What a valuable lesson to learn on the day she started college. So I think that's much better than what I had, because that was the lesson. Like, Caroline, you're not defined by who I am. So when you're trying to, like, if I'm embarrassing you, I'm sorry, but my behavior shouldn't define who you are. And which, by the way, how rude that she thought I would embarrass her just because I like to smile and say hello to people. But it was a bigger lesson, and it was I want to clean up that last bit, and I'm probably going to go back and revise that last line a little bit more. But this is better, and I feel much better about the way I've ended this narrative paper. So, writers, what I'm challenging you to do is go back and spend the time on crafting the perfect ending to your paper. And I would love for you to share this. So, if you are willing to share how you revised your ending, please let me know, because that's how we're going to learn and grow together. Okay, thank you so much, writers. Bye.